I let myself fall in love. And when I say fall, it's like the person is almost like the muse. It's like being with you right now. Just feel into how my attention can rest on you. And then right there, and that feeling comes up. It's like a steady, stable feeling. Then I remember I'm projecting. Like, if this feeling is in my body, it was always mine. And this Peter shaped portal is like teaching me how to call it out. And so I both appreciate you and affirm that you are real and like I could never capture you, like in my mind. And then I also, as I learn to lean towards you, at the same time, I remember like, oh, this is who I am.
Hey, Mike.
Hello.
Good to see you again. We met
Yeah.
the first time in person at Borderland last year, the
Hmm.
Scandinavian Burn.
Yeah,
Um,
you're the reason I went.
yeah, and well, I'd kind of known you from the scene of Relateful
Yeah,
circling, and you'd been doing events with here in Scandinavia.
right.
But you'd kind of been out there, so it was really a pleasure for me to meet you in person and sort of
Yeah.
just land in more of a community vibe. I think there was a little bit of
Right.
competitiveness before that, and now I just have this like, oh, Mike.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, as I told you, what I would like to start with, or yeah, the vantage point is kind of how did you get into this stuff that I
Hmm.
call the relating arts? Like, what's your
Right.
background story?
I, I think my background story, when I was like 24, I joined a cult of Christian mystics. It was called the Order of Christ Sophia, and it was run by two Jungian analysts. So as a 24-year-old, I was just like, I started doing childcare for them during church. And then I just noticed they were just kind of different. They were like the first people I ever saw that transformed. Like they'd come back from retreats and I saw this guy's eyes. I was like, wow, he's different. And it got in me. And so I joined and I went like hardcore. And then with these Jungians, their ability to like see through me was like insane. So they kind of just tore me apart for good and bad. Like the good was like I started my shadow work. I started having experiences of sharing authentically, like being angry before I knew it was going to be okay, or, you know, noticing when I was afraid. But then they also had the other side of it was you're not gay, you're just mad at your dad. So it had some darkness and it was hierarchical. So the two, everybody had a teacher, but the two at the top, their teacher was Jesus, according to them. And it was almost like the paint started chipping, and I could feel it not feel as good. And so I left, but it gave me this like really interesting frame because when I started, they said to me, don't trust us, trust your experience. So then, like the 2.5 years I was there, we were meditating just like constantly. I didn't masturbate for 2 years. Like it was like I was building the chi or whatever. And like when I left, it was crazy because like my belief structure was kind of gone, but like the experiences were still there. So for about 6 or 7 years, I was kind of just like smoking weed and like trying to like put my brain back together. I was exploring like atheism and how beliefs are kind of like a language to me, like how they kind of create how we're seeing everything. And so I made myself kind of see my experiences through an atheist lens and a Christian lens and like any lenses that I thought were interesting. So then I moved to Houston to get away from them, and because that was in Denver. And I joined a band. I was kind of like that was like helping me come back out into the world. And then I met this guy. I met this couple, a Dutch couple, and they had me come over to play Risk and drink wine and eat cheese. And there was this guy there, and he was really cool. He was like kind of Buddhist, and he was having a party. He said, "Why don't you come to my party?" So I went, and when I got there, there was these like four hippies. It was like three women, and then there was a man laying across them on a couch. And I was like, "Who the hell are you guys?" And the guy goes, "We are ecstatic dancers." And I just like I could barely not roll my eyes. And I was like, "What the hell's ecstatic dance?" And he said, "Oh, it's amazing. You just don't talk. You don't judge yourself or others. And we just dance on Sunday mornings. You should come." And I was like, "I will." And they were like, he's not going to come." And then I showed up and it just blew my mind, just to move and be in my body. And I did that for a month before the same guy that, whose party it was invited me to games night. So authentic relating. And then I just remember the first game. It was me and this woman, Lorraine, playing noticing. And I said, "I feel happy." And she looked at me like this. And I was like, "I feel scared." But it was like the first time I like really said it like that, you know? And it was like, man, it was like the mysticism that was really natural to me, the in-betweenness. Like it like found a new home. And I think of the relational arts as a kind of like co-mysticism um, between us. And, Martin Buber informed a lot of Guy Sengstock's work. And what he said was, anytime two people look at each other with not knowing, but wanting to know, therein we catch the tail of God. And so it's something about that was like a really, I've been following that thread just forever to like towards myself. And I think basically towards love. I've always believed in love. And it was like, it's been this long journey to like feel it, like really feel it in my body and feel it like in myself. Yeah. And that's how I got into it. And then I went authentic relating. I became a facilitator. Then I tried circling. Then I did the art of circling training in Berkeley. And then I moved in with Jordan Allen in Austin, and I was leading with him. And then we used to lead like what they called Monday Lab in Austin. And I did that for probably 5 years. And then we started the Relateful Studio. And for a while, when Circling Europe kind of schismed, I was working for both. So I was like, man, I'm going to gouge these guys. I'm going to make them pay me whatever I want. And then I really liked the vibe at Relateful Company. So I just settled on one. Yeah. Now I teach the Level Up course and uh, do a lot of the workshops for Relateful Company.
Great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like the simple way of asking this question would be to say, like, what have you learned?
Yeah.
But like when I hear you, it's like your origin seems to sort of already have opened a lot up
Yeah.
and sort of seeing a lot there. So it's like, what's the difference? Like, what are you still
Uh,
learning, or can you try to
right.
speak into the process of
Mhm.
going deeper in these practices?
Yeah. The the mysticism, the way they defined mysticism was like the outer world and the inner world are like the same. Like me looking at you is I'm just looking at information that my brain's projecting out at the camera. And to get those to sync up so that we love the world like we love ourselves. You know, like when people are doing parts work, sometimes they're doing parts work like lovingly. And sometimes they're like looking at their little feelings inside and they're like, I'm loving you so that you will go the fuck away. So like try to clean that up and just like love, like Jordan has a good line. He's like, love is when you love something even if it doesn't change. You know, it's like just stay and really like make that my practice. And then the way it applied to, you know, circling and what we call relatefulness now, basically was just this big training on listening. You know, like what is listening? Guy used to say, um, he said something like, "Do you know what's the first question or what's the first thing you got to realize to begin listening?" And the answer is you don't. The first thing to realize to listen is that you don't listen. And so I really got into coaching to practice like I did it for me. I was like, this is the next level of listening. I want to do this for me. I want to help people, but I want it to be like at the beginning for me and what I think the listening has taught me is how to sense love because I seem to be able to listen to some people just forever. I could just stare at them, place my attention on them, and it's actually easier to have my attention on them than to not. That's one of my first signs that there's love with between me and someone. I kind of just lost track. What was the question?
It was something like, what have you discovered through practice? But also
Yeah.
with the like, when I hear of your early cult experience, it sounds like
Yeah.
a lot was already learned then. So
Right.
something with like, what has been the difference, or like what have been the
Mm.
discoveries along the way?
Um, it's so tough to go back and like track all the way.
Mm,
Um, the biggest thing for me is this exploration of love.
mm,
And like so basically I believe that love is is I don't know if the universe is made out of love. I have no opinion about that, but the universe at least sweats love. I believe and that's like from my vision of God from the cult is the same as my vision of love. I believe that love is a force that precedes meaning. So like it's the thing that makes the meaninglessness of the universe okay. But because we have this like capitalist kind of patriarchal society, it's like the economics of it and stuff. Because I have needs and I have to pay money to take care of a lot of my needs, then my existence in this frame is a deficit. Like I start out in debt just because I exist. So I believe that there's kind of like a stigmatism in our eyes where we're trying to pay for something that's free. And that's what blocks us from encountering it. Mhm.
So what I hear when you say that is like, I have to do something to get somewhere, but
Right.
I'm but that sort of gets in the way of realizing that I'm already there, or that it's already available.
That's why the burn was so good for me because the gift giving and the no exchange, it was just so helpful to see that in culture.
Hmm.
So I could like go walk up, can I have a beer? Huh. Someone just gives me something, you know? Yeah. And so I'm like moving towards an experience of th that frame being the one that's in the front. And then this other frame, I see it as like necessary so I can communicate with people in the world, that kind of capitalist um, patriarchy. Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, what's the internal process
Mhm.
of sourcing
Psst,
love?
man, I try everything. The first thing I do is I notice I let myself fall in love. And when I say fall, it's like the person is almost like the muse. It's like being with you right now. Just feel into how my attention can rest on you. And then right there, and that feeling comes up. It's like a steady, stable feeling. Then I remember I'm projecting. Like if this feeling is in my body, it was always mine. And this Peter-shaped portal is like teaching me how to call it out. And so I both appreciate you and affirm that you are real and like I could never capture you, like in my mind. And then I also, like, as I learn to lean towards you, at the same time, I remember like, oh, this is who I am. This, this feeling. It's like, I say feeling, but I mean something similar. Yeah. Sense. Yeah.
And I'm curious how it looks for you because like if I were to describe an experience of love, it's like it's like a widening.
Ah,
And it becomes very similar to awareness in some way for me, that it's
yes. Yes.
like
But the
widening,
thing,
opening, being more receptive to what
right.
is, and in that there's an almost
Mm.
like there's some kind of inherent eroticism in it for me, at least, that there's some kind of, when you say
Oh, this is
falling in
too,
love with it, well, there's also something just pleasurable, erotic in being,
right.
yeah, just in
Yes.
being, and then also in being with. That
Right.
comes from what I would call the experience of love. Uh,
Yeah.
and then it seems very inclusive. So it's like when
Uh-huh.
you said feeling before, it's like, but it seems to also include anger, like grief,
Uh-huh.
like all of those seems to
Yes.
be part of, potentially part of a love expression, but can also not be.
Yes. I mean, I believe every feeling is in service of love on some level, and I believe that we are always proceeding like towards health. Even even when we're becoming unhealthy, we're still learning towards health, I think. Um, the thing you said about the widening, the way my experience has been lately is I wake up and it's like nothing. And then I kind of start waking up throughout the day, and then there'll be the experience. And then everything shifts, and it looks as if the love was there the whole time. So like my day starts with kind of like, why am I so unconscious again? And then I find that moment and then they flip and the love becomes the thing that was there the whole time. Um, and it's really helping me um, not have to try to control people lately. It's like the love's there. I can like back up if I need space from them, or I can go closer if I feel attracted. That's the first part of the thing I wanted to respond to you to. And then the second is the thing about awareness. I think I've had a problem with how awareness and non-duality are taught. I kept hearing like you got to see it all as one, just see it all as one. That's non-duality. And then the thing I never bumped into doing it that way was the eroticism. I said to this, we were just at Relateful Camp, and I said to this woman, I was like, imagine, you know, when your dad calls you on the phone and he's in a good mood. And then imagine when your boyfriend is having sex with you. And then imagine your best friend's wedding shower. And then imagine looking at a baby who's laughing. Now take all those feelings, and those are in awareness too. It's not just a head trick. So I seem to really want a more embodied non-duality, and I'm not willing to just change the way my brain looks at the picture to say I've achieved non-duality. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure if it makes sense. It's like what it does to me is that I get into my this slight to intense annoyance with spiritual terminology that I don't
Right.
that seems a bit unhelpful for me. Like
Yeah.
because it becomes these achievements that I'm like,
Right.
well, okay, so this apparently means something, and likely I haven't had this experience, or I don't know if I've had
Right.
it. At least I don't
Right.
recognize it if I have had it. So, but apparently this is really good somehow. But it,
Yes.
but then it doesn't actually seem like the things I find really important is like, well, I think you speak to it quite well. That's very much to do with love
Yeah.
and more sort of I want to feel good with the people I'm around, and I want to do good work in the world that feels meaningful and that has a
Mhm.
real impact, and where I can feel that where I have the experience that it feels so banal when I say it, but that something good is happening when I do it. So it's
Mhm.
like, well, you were in the garden I made in Alvesha. Like
Right.
doing that garden feels like that for me. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
here's a place where people seem to slow down a little bit more when they
Yeah.
come in and they speak a little bit differently. And they seem to be with each other in a slightly different way that I enjoy more.
Yeah.
And that qualitative difference feels really important for me. And non-duality and enlightenment are just words for me. That
Mhm. Right.
and like I don't know, I haven't studied these things. But most of the time it's like it's just a little bit meaningless. And then a few people can speak to it in a way that feels inspiring. Most people I find most people I hear using the words non-duality and enlightenment, uh, I it immediately creates some kind of well, uh,
Uh-huh. Yes.
why are you using
Right.
that specific terminology?
Well,
Uh,
so the same like take that place where you probably like in the past you like heard somebody talking about it and you probably, were like, what is this? And then nothing cool happened, or maybe very less cool happened than you were told. And I feel like my like being like coming out of the closet and non-duality sit similarly with me. Like I seem to have this way of like I try shit really hard. And then if I fail, if I just keep failing, then I'm like, this is not a breakdown. We have found a feature, a feature of being, so like, yes, I am gay. And um and I imagine there's something cool about seeing all the world as one, and I don't want to get there before it's time, you know? I want to get there the way I get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know. I think my priorities are just a lot more in the sort of human interaction. It's
Sure.
like I put a lot more importance in having a loving, kind relationship with my partner and
Right.
raising our child in a way that feels beautiful
Yeah.
than some kind of attainment to
Totally.
some kind of inner state that someone made up a few thousand years ago.
Right.
Like just not a big priority in my life.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say that it's like high on my priority list. It's just like how I hold these kind of, I don't know, mile markers or something. The mundane, the mundane and how we live it, I think is the main kind of point of the Relateful Company. We really, Jordan and Val and I really wanted to live this practice. And we saw that we couldn't do it when we were so focused on catharsis. Couldn't do it if it was just so focused on healing. It was almost like we had to, reinvent it a little bit from where we had it. Yeah, that's like the most important. And I mean, my spiritual practice now, this is like, this actually did start at um, Borderland, is really following my turn on and my heart, like towards people, as if it's my God, and trusting my eros as my intuition, as the voice of my soul, and letting my body learn instead of doing this thing with the head where I check out who people are on paper, just moving towards them and learning like, oh, so this person I need to be this far away from, and this person I need to be this far away from, and this person I want to be really close to. Oh, they don't want me so close. Okay, I'll come back to here, and just it's been informing me so much. Now, this year I'm releasing it's called Letters to Ewan. Um, and I'm releasing one letter a day, like documenting this kind of process of, do you know what limerence is?
Explain it to me. I've heard the word before.
Like romantic obsession.
Mm.
Yeah. And I'm trying to see what I believe is the limerence is like the tadpole of devotion. Like right now, it's easy for me to get kind of worked up for a man. And then each time I kind of fall for them, I really remember that I'm projecting. And I'm like, okay, you're falling in love with yourself and this person. And then as it proceeds, what I've noticed is, and this is might sound crazy, but my cock seems to be picking better matches. Yeah. Because I think it's because I'm not doing it on paper anymore, and I'm letting it learn like who I am. Yeah.
Is that like a way Or would it be similar to say that you have become more responsive?
Hmm. I'm probably more responsive, like I act on it, but I've kind of always been good at that. There's some kind of thing where like the each next guy I meet is like somehow a fit I didn't realize. And it's just kind of blowing my mind right now. Yeah. I think that the world, what we're not taught when we're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like when we're first falling in love with people, is our heart opens because we see this muse, and then they're either into it or not. And if they're not, our response is how shameful. I should close my heart. And then we're kind of walking around with these closed hearts, and I think we're meeting people that are in alignment with our closed hearts first. So what happened at the burn was I fell in love with somebody, and I was almost angry. I was like, why isn't this an experience unless he validates it?
Mm,
I was like, what is this experience for me? And so I just made a vow. It was the last day of camp, and I just was like, no, I'm not closing my heart. I'm going to keep it open. I'm going to keep following it. And it hurts more, or I feel the hurt more when I keep it open.
mm,
But it's been so rewarding. Yeah.
mm.
Like, I think I've dated like seven guys, just dates, since Borderland. And I just came from San Francisco and I was with this guy, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing. Like that. I've never even imagined such a match. Yeah.
So for me, that sort of goes into what you speak about when you speak to love, like this
Yeah.
difference between being in a wide open state and being in a
Yeah.
more or less contracted state.
Right.
And at least for
Right.
myself, I can feel that a lot in my everyday life, like those
Uh,
movements of contraction and expanding. Like, oh, I get
right.
afraid, and then there is an impulse to contract and hide, um,
Hmm.
and yeah, protect myself in some way. And then it's like the process, and something I think I've really learned from doing a lot of these relating practices a
Mm.
lot is like mm, just like becoming aware that I'm contracting when it happens,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
catching it and being like, oh, I'm in a contraction now. Oh,
Right.
okay, maybe I can relax a bit or just let my
Yeah.
partner or whoever I'm with know that I'm contracted. And then it's like, then we're in
Yeah.
it together and we're kind of on the same side again. And then I don't have to
Right.
be self-protective anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like, so right there, like you're kind of talking about it in like on the soccer field of the mundane. You know what I mean? Like I think that's like where it matters the most. It's like I'm contracted. I think a lot of people, they might hear what you just said and think, oh yeah, if I'm contracted, then I have to uncontract. I'm like, no, 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 no. Just stay there. Just stay there in the contracted. Don't have to do any shadow work. Let's just stay there and see like what happens next without the fixing and stuff. And I really like that because I think that these transitions between these states, because of the capitalism and don't be seen having a need, we're always trying to get out of the danger zone really fast. Oh, you're contracted. No one's going to love you if you're contracted, Peter. God, you're not sexy when you're contracted. And it's like, I mean, we kind of chase ourselves all over the place trying to get out of the danger zones, and just staying in the danger zone is this huge rebellion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then again, it depends a lot on how I relate to my contraction, right?
Uh,
If I'm
right?
shaming
Say more.
myself,
Yeah.
which I definitely know well, that it's like, oh, I'm already sort of doing something bad here. And
Uh,
then I'm making myself feel even worse. So like I'm shaming
uh,
myself for being in a contraction because I should
uh,
be out of it. And then I can get really sort of into spirals
yeah.
of that, which is quite a different thing than I think what I heard you say now, which is this, oh, I'm contracted. And
Well,
then sort of
so
having the
yeah,
contraction in a wider field of, yeah, I'm here and I have this.
I would say every place we're at can always use like a um at least it being noted, like I'm ashamed and I'm ashamed of my shame. And then I could stay there for a year and just try to see what's shame like if I'm not ashamed of it. And that's when the relational arts come out. Like I would go to a friend, probably, and just tell them what's happening and just look at their eyes. You know, it's like the world, the independence movement, it teaches us things like, oh, you got to get over your shame by yourself. Like you got to have like self-esteem so strong that like nothing can shame you. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to go to my friend who I believe loves me, and I'll be like, hey, are you going to kick me out of the tribe because of this?
Hmm,
And then they just look at me like, and then I get to believe their eyes more than the feeling in my body.
hmm,
And then now I'm just ashamed. I'm not ashamed of the shame. And now I can work on that one,
hmm,
but I really like almost like stay in places extra to make sure I'm not chasing myself. Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah.
And that going to a friend move
Yeah.
for me seems like quite a significant move and something that is likely sort of
Yeah.
come online through practice.
Totally.
Uh,
When I
because there's
lived
a
with
noticing
Jordan,
first, right?
yes. Yeah.
That something is even happening. And then there's like, okay,
Right.
I'm willing to reveal this thing that is, at
Hey.
least when you start, pretty fucking scary because it might actually mean that I am wrong and this other
Right.
person will reject me for bringing it, or at least that's how it feels from the inside. And then there's
Right.
something with the acclimatization to that experience of like, okay, this is really scary to a level of like, it can go to the level of survival, and then still holding it lightly somehow. That is like,
Uh-huh.
okay, it feels really, really scary. And I kind of know that it's not, or at least that's my
Right.
experience.
Well, it's like I can kind of know that it's not, but then the next thing that was super confusing to me was I thought, well, if I've been vulnerable enough times, why is it still vulnerable? It took me a long time to figure out it's always going to be vulnerable. Every surrender is because, to me, a surrender is I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know I'm going to take responsibility for where I end up. And every like I can do that mapping in my head, but then that moment when I take the jump, it always kind of makes me feel like a coward, and that seems to be the cost of surrender, is that vulnerability for me.
Hmm.
I'm sure I'm surrendering in micro ways all the time and I'm not scared of it, but yeah, those the ones that I feel like you and I are noting. It took me a long time to figure out, oh, you're not bad because it's still scary. Yeah.
But I guess it becomes new things, right? Like I
Yeah.
use this map, like that you can't be brave without being scared first. So like it takes
Right.
some kind of act of bravery to bring something that feels really
Right.
vulnerable. But then it's like a lot of things that felt very vulnerable for me 10 years ago when I first encountered circling, like
Huh.
upbringing, my anger publicly, doesn't
Right.
feel that scary anymore. So
Right.
that also doesn't have this sense of this is really vulnerable. But that doesn't
Uh-huh.
mean that life is not still a movement of contraction and expansion where
Uh,
some things are scary. It's just other things that were 10 years ago.
right. Yeah. There's some things that seem to move, and then there's some things that seem to return. It's really interesting, like big thing I feel like I've been with this. You and I have been on this journey of complexity, right? Like developmental growth. And I had a student ask me, like, how do you track so much? And I was like, oh, well, I stopped tracking a lot.
Mm,
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be with the love and then all those other things. So I just one by one put them down. It's really nice. Like now when I'm in the group, I don't try and be though. I think I used to try and be like so big that I could like do it all. And now I just like being just me,
mm,
with like other people filling the gaps. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I used to be able to know what to say to this person and I can't remember anymore. And then somebody else will come in and give them the love that, I'm not really in contact with anymore.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Hmm. What was that?
Some kind of dropping into some pleasurable silence
Yeah.
that that I think you were speaking to just now, and that I also recognize in myself more and more in life, and particularly when I lead, that there's this voice of competence in me that I know
Mm.
very well that is like, I should be doing something really skillful and good here.
Hmm.
And then it's also very clear for me that I do my best work when I'm just gently putting that aside and I'm more like, oh, can
Yeah.
I just be here? And yeah, you've been speaking a lot to the love, and that does seem to be fundamentally it.
Hmm.
It's just welcome that and welcome my own needs.
Yeah.
Um,
The
that's all that's needed.
reversal, the reversal for me. So it's like I used to, I've trained people on facilitating sort of leadership and flow. And the way it used to be for me and the way I catch people all the time is they people would have this belief like I have to be paying attention to everybody. There's 25 people here. My awareness has to be like spread out so that my nervous system is connected to all of them. And I remember it's the same thing. I just couldn't do it.
Mm,
I just couldn't do it. I was like, this must either I'm a wimp or there's a feature here that I'm learning about. And so I've done this huge, like I believe all the training I've done is reaching out. Like my awareness is um, your awareness is our awareness. But now the thing I tell my mind is what's pleasurable right now? Because I am in charge of like this body, and like the responsibility of it. Like what's pleasurable? And so I take that thing that's like trying to reach out and touch everything and just let it go. And I trust it's in my body. If I have an intuition towards pleasure, it is informed by everything that's real that I've ever cared about. So like I am in contact with anything, with everything when I, move just for me, even in like a kind of selfish way or what could be considered selfish. Yeah, I love it. I feel so tiny and I just go out and then I look back. And when I look back in retrospect, everything went better than if I would have tried to, become this blob that touches everything and possibly controls it.
mm,
Just always goes better. And the funniest one is people will come up to me and they'll say, "That was a great immersion." And I'm like, "Thank you for telling me because I am losing the ability to keep score and I don't know if it was a good immersion. I just know I had a good time."
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it brings up in me is the difference between trying to be in connection with everything
Right.
and then just having that no,
Right.
that's not something that I need to do. It's actually back to where we started. Like
Right.
I am already in connection with the room and, well, a wider sense, the world. So it's like it's not something I can make happen forcefully,
Mhm.
but it's something I can sink into. And when I welcome myself, at least in my experience, that is exactly what I'm doing. I am allowing myself to be impacted by the space and by everything that's going on.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. There's something where like, so I have this beliefs about groupthink. There's a thing in the United States where everybody like always faces the same direction in an elevator. And like if you turn around and face the other way, it like really weirds people out. I think that there's a force, at least in the culture of America, where we're supposed to make everything look easy. That's like a sign that people should have sex with you or something. Like, are you doing great things and are you making them look easy? And I think that like this frame that you and I seem to prefer, I think the thing it includes that the other one doesn't is learning. Like if I'm in a group and I'm in connection and like say make a mistake or miss something, like I get to be in the room too. And like maybe I learn something about myself or others that like, kind of grows me up a little bit. Like that should really be, I should be much more interested in what I'm learning than in what I know. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that's easy to say in some way, right? That it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's a trope, like to be with the not knowing, like beginner's mind and all that, and then practicing it. At least I find
Yeah.
quite tricky, uh,
Yes.
because there's
Yeah.
also all the things in me that want to come off as competent and want to come off as
Right.
someone who's good at this and where it is easy for me. And so it's like there's like also being gentle to those things and welcoming them and just sort of, yeah, this
Right.
is also here.
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Guess we're getting close to an end of this.
Sure.
Is there, do you have a good wrap up, or is there something I haven't asked you that you want to speak to? Feel inspired?
I went all the way back to what you said, like what have you learned from from this? And it was weird. Like this list came up in my mind of like it's like things I believe um, that feel like features, and it's like truth, love, and beauty. We're always connected. We're right on time. We're always moving towards health. Um, we have bodies that are really, really cool. And we have a relationship with time and culture that is kind of always here. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, pleasure.